Hello everyone and welcome to Game Rant. In this guide I'll be showing you all of the Site of Grace locations in the Abyssal Woods and how to get to each. There are a total of 9 Sites of Grace in the Abyssal Woods, and the main difference between the Abyssal Woods and many of the other sections in the Shadow Realm is that you will not have access to your Spectral Steed Torrent. To start, you will only be able to access the Abyssal Woods section of the map after traversing through the Darklight Catacombs and fighting the dungeon boss at this location. Once you've defeated the boss here, the first Site of Grace in the Abyssal Woods will appear, which is the Forsaken Graveyard. The next Site of Grace that we will go to is the Woodland Trail. Starting from the Forsaken Graveyard Site of Grace, head south and into the Abyssal Woods. Continue following the stream south until you get to a hill where you will see the Woodland Trail Site of Grace. The next Site of Grace that we will go to will be the Church Ruin Site of Grace, which is additionally the area where you will be able to retrieve the map for the Abyssal Woods if you have not done so already. Starting from the Woodland Trail Site of Grace, head south down the distinct path. If this is your first time going this way, you will run into the Madding Hand, which is a mini-boss that patrols this road. Continue following the road and you will eventually see a church in the distance. Proceed southeast towards the church, and on the left of the path you will see a glowing monument. This is where you'll be able to pick up the Abyssal Woods map fragment. Continue southeast into the abandoned church where you will find the Site of Grace. The next Site of Grace that we will be going to is the Abyssal Woods Site of Grace. Starting back at the Woodland Trail Site of Grace, go west and jump down the small cliff. There will be a number of rats down here, but continue heading west down the stream. Eventually you will see the Abyssal Woods Site of Grace. The next Site of Grace that we will go to is the Divided Falls Site of Grace. From the Abyssal Woods Site of Grace, travel west and jump down a cliff. Be careful here, as there will be a winter lantern patrolling this area. If this is your first time encountering these enemies, they cannot be harmed unless their attack is parried. You can either attempt to fight them or sneak through the tall brush areas and sneak past them. Once you are past the winter lantern, continue following the stream west where you will see a waterfall. Once you come to the larger body of water, head north and you will see the Divided Falls Site of Grace in the distance. The last 4 Sites of Grace are all located inside of Midra's Manse. To get to Midra's Manse, starting from the Divided Falls Site of Grace, travel south. Continue heading south through this overpass where you will see a few enemies. Defeat them and jump down the rocks, then travel southwest until you come across another group of enemies. Defeat them and travel southeast up the hill shown. Continue traveling southeast and jump off of the cliff. Once at the bottom, start traveling south and you will see Midra's Manse in the distance, as well as a number of cleric enemies. Defeat the cleric enemies and continue south to the door. If this is your first time here, you will have to open the doors. Once opened, continue south where you will finally arrive at the Manse Hall Site of Grace. The next Site of Grace we will go to is Midra's Library in Midra's Manse. From the Manse Hall Site of Grace, go to the eastern side of the main hall. If this is your first time here, you will see a picture on the wall. This is actually an illusory wall where you can either hit or roll into to open it. Once opened, head east and a horned warrior will appear which you will need to defeat. Once defeated, continue through the hallway which will lead to a dining area with a number of enemies which you will need to defeat. From the dining area, travel through the eastern passageway where another horned warrior will appear that will have to be taken down. After he's been taken care of, proceed south into the small library room and go all the way to the back of the room where you will find a lever. Pull the lever which will then open the bookcase in the previous room. Follow this path and go up the ladder to the upper balcony of the dining area where there will be a few enemies. Proceed up the next ladder and follow this path which will lead you to the Midra's library site of grace. The next site of grace that we will go to is the second floor chamber site of grace. From the Midra's library site of grace, go west and into the library room. Jump down to the ground floor into the far southern wall and proceed into this room. From here, you can open the double doors which leads back into the area where the Manse Hall site of grace is located. Additionally, you will notice another painting on the southern wall of the room. Roll into it or attack it to reveal an illusory wall. Proceed into this new room and up the stairs, then take the ladder up where you will find another lever. Pull the lever which will move a bookcase on the western wall. Traverse the bookcases in the path shown which will lead to a few new enemies. Defeat them, head east and up the stairs and then defeat these enemies, then proceed forward which will lead you to the second floor chamber site of grace. The final site of grace in the Abyssal Woods section of the Shadow Realm is the discussion chamber site of grace, which can only be obtained by defeating the boss enemy in Midra's Manse. To get to this site of grace, starting from the second floor chamber site of grace, go east, then south where you will face off against the boss in Midra's Manse. Once defeated, this will reveal the discussion chamber site of grace. Thank you so much for watching Game Rant. Check out some of our other Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree guides, and don't forget to game on. We will see you next time.